it would be inhumane of me to ignore such a massive effect. And it was that prayer, that request, that single request is what popped it all off. That single prayer, man, I'm not gonna lie, that is what really set off the whole fuse. That was what completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I had no idea. So what's up, guys? My name is Andy. I'm 36 as of me making this video. I was born in India, so and then I was actually raised in America. I flew here when I was 2, grew up a little bit in California, and then I've been in Washington pretty much my whole life. My parents were Sikh, and it was just sort of the default religion for me, and I just grew accustomed to it because my parents were also Sikh, Punjabi, and so it was just something that, you know, you acclimate to. Here's the thing about my family. We're really not that religious. In fact, we probably go like 3 times a year, if that. It's like very, very mild, like almost nothing, right? And that's kind of like how I've grown in general. Is like I never really saw myself as a religious person, really. You know, through most of my 20s, I honestly kind of stayed away from it. I kind of stayed away from it just because it felt very dividing. It felt like a lot of religions were trying to do or say the same similar kind of thing. And I think the conclusion that I was kind of arriving to when I was in my 20s was like, oh, like, you know, most religions are they're just kind of saying the same thing. It's like, just be a good person. But as I got older, I found that I don't think that's the case. One thing about going to the Sikh temple, there's like a prayer segment where you offer money. It's like a tithing, I guess. Like, yeah, it's like a tithe. You offer money, you do a prayer, and then after some time, there is an area where people go and eat, right? And it's a very going through the motions kind of thing. My one thing that I've noticed when it comes to going to the Sikh temple is that I can't even actually think of like one time where someone has actually approached me and been like, hey, like, who are you? Or, hey, like, let's get you connected with more people in this community. Hey, like, no one has ever in my life has come up to me and introduced themselves to me. No one has done any of these kinds of things. And so going to the temple, it felt always very distant to me when it comes to sort of like the communal vibe of everything, right? It's kind of like, you know, and it feels kind of individualistic. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about it that feels very cold, and something is not spiritually warm there. And I can't really put my finger on it. It's one of those things where, you know, look, if you go to the same place for weeks on end, I mean, regardless if it's a temple, church, whatever building it is, I mean, it's like if you just show up to a building at the same time and place, you're eventually, you know, people are going to be coming to you. You're eventually going to be connecting with people, right? Like, I think it's just like a natural thing, right? Even when we were going to several different temples, and even when we were going to the same one, even when we would go more frequently in the year, it would still never feel like anyone cared. And it's not like, and here's the thing, man, it's not like, you know, it's not like, oh, I demand that someone comes up to us, you know, like I demand that someone comes. It's not like some pompous thing, right? But when I think about, you know, it's the thing about communities is like being proactive and going up to people is sort of like a byproduct of the communal effect, something like that, right? Like, look, and you could say that, oh, Andy, you could have gone up to them and you could have gone up to them, but the thing is, man, is like it felt this cold and distant. Like one could just say like, oh, Andy, well then what's stopping you from going up to them? And it's like, actually, they didn't seem very approachable. I'm not gonna lie, it just didn't really feel approachable to me. And I'm not fluent in Punjabi. Okay, I know English, and so sometimes that actually was an issue when it came to just talking with people, conversing with people. There was sometimes a language barrier. Not that was fully deterring me. Say you're the regular at some community, right? You're a regular, and say you've been going for years, or say you've been going for whatever. You know all of the faces there, and you know when there's new people coming in. And so, when you've been in a community for a while, it's one of those things where when you're proactive and seeking out other people, then that's kind of a byproduct of the communal effect of the community, if that makes any sense, right? Like, one could say that, oh, well, people are only approaching you because they're so extroverted, and yeah, that's definitely a variable. But I think it's also a thing where it's like, if you're really a community, I feel like there's also an effect of pulling people in to the group, and I never felt that. I never once felt that ever, really, in any Sikh temple. I'm not even joking. And it's nothing bad, and I don't want to frame it like it's some terrible thing, like it's some crime that, but it was just sort of this effect that I felt. And it just kind of makes me like kind of sad, because it's like, it's not the first time I felt in my life where people were all congregated under the same roof, yet it still didn't really feel communal. It felt like a collection of individuals that were just there for themselves. Because the other thing about doing when you go to a Sikh temple, is that a lot of people will just go for the food. They'll just go, they'll do the prayer, do the thing, go for the food, and then they're dipping out. Like they're gone, and like you never see them. And it's like, oh, okay, well. And the thing is, like, my family, we do that too. So Sikh temple versus going to my local church. So it's been almost, honestly, like night and day. I've only been to 3 churches ever, and every single one of them have been very welcoming, super friendly. The vibe was just incredible, I thought. And the one church that I go to regularly now, where I live now, it's incredible. The church that I go to now, I can't even think of any bad thing to say. It's no, genuinely, people come up to me, they're like, hey, you're new, like, we haven't seen your face before, we got to get you connected, like, I want you to meet so-and-so. And like, I went there, and they're like, I need you to meet this guy, and I need you to meet this person. I'm just kind of following them around, and they're like, oh, you got to meet this guy, you got to meet that guy, you got to meet. I'm like, okay, whatever, yeah, okay, yeah, go meet that guy, meet that. And it's kind of almost a little overwhelming, but it's also just, it's so genuine though too. And I get it, man. I get it. Churches, they want you involved, they want you to be of service to them also. I get that, but the thing is, man, is like, it's a very warm, welcoming environment. And even when I go and when I talk to someone else in church, it's so approachable. Everyone is so easy to talk to. And that's not like a language barrier thing. It's just on a vibe. Like, people are ready to talk to you. Their body language is different. They're not so closed off. And that's kind of how I felt when I was at the Sikh temple, was that it's just a person's body language. Like, sometimes you don't want to talk to them because they don't have the right vibe to even for you to even start a conversation, if that makes any sense. So let me tell you too, I've only been going to my local church for like maybe 2 months, and I've met so many people. I can't even remember everyone's name, but I remember their faces. I do, I really do. And it's just like this explosion of just connectivity, and it's so appreciated. Just talking about how these kinds of social interactions are byproducts of what it means to be a community. And when I'm going to my local church, it truly feels like a community. I mean, obviously there's going to be people that they come in and then they're leaving. I get that. People, they have other stuff to do that day, whatever. But for the most part, even when the main session finishes, a lot of people stick around. They talk, everyone's just kind of hanging out. It doesn't really, and I love that. It's not just a routine thing that it felt like where it was at the Sikh temple. That's just my personal experience, and I'm sure, different churches or different vibes, different Sikh temples or, different. But Christianity is one of those things where, and just Jesus Christ and specifically, Jesus Christ has helped so many people. And I've personally have talked to a handful of people throughout my life where they're just like, yeah, man, Christ is the way, man. And Christ is like, he saved my life. And yeah, it seemed like it had such a profound effect on him. And I didn't really think of it. Like back then, I would listen to their story. I'm like, wow, that's actually really profound. That's actually really crazy. But I was always in the back of my head thinking like, well, wouldn't any religion still be able to do that though, right? Looking into it a little bit more, I think YouTube was a big part of it. I was just hearing other people's stories. I was just hearing other people's testimonies. It looked like almost like before and after images of like people like, yeah, this is like my life before and after, and it's like almost two completely different people. Even on just like a visual glance, like it was like, oh wow, like you're massively, you look way better. And it's not like, oh, they just lost some weight or something. It's not like, oh yeah, they're keeping up on their vitamins or something. It's not even that. Like they were literally like they're almost like glowing. And I don't think I'm exaggerating with that. And I think my ease into Christianity was seeing tangible change with people in real life and also through YouTube, and like actual massive change, man. Like it was also hearing it was like near-death experiences, not the AI ones. Those ones, hey, YouTube's buckling down on AI stuff. Hey man, some of that stuff is made up, just saying. But some of it, before AI was like really popping off a couple years ago, there were definitely a lot of people that were real people telling their real story. And it was like quite insane, right? I was like, wow, that's unbelievable, right? Me actually finding certain YouTube content creators that were in that Christian space that got me thinking. Actually, I was like, it was more like they kind of sparked the interest even further. And I get it. Like it's like, oh Andy, you're just watching more YouTube videos of that topic, so you're obviously going to get interested in it. And it's like yes and no, because I mean, you could put on a video on like freaking gardening, or I mean, you could put a video up on like how to inflate a kiddie pool or something, and I would probably turn it off very quickly because I am not interested in that. A lot of the things that a lot of these Christian content creators were talking about were like very much like resonating with me, and a lot of the things were like very much aligning with how I was feeling actually. But then I still kind of live my life, even despite finding all this content, listening to all these stories and all this kind of data accumulation that I've done. I still I just pretty much continue to live my life the way I wanted to, and I didn't really think too much of it until my one of my coworkers at the time, actually two of them, hey, like, you know, are you religious? And I'm like, no, I'm not actually, like, not really. Have you considered reading the Bible? I'm like, oh, I find it kind of hard to read, actually, like with just the vocabulary. Sometimes it's just like kind of dense and hard. I feel like I don't know. It's probably just me. I'm bad at reading or something. You got me. Where is it? I gotta get going soon. You got me. This one right here. It's the, as you can see here, Harper Collins. What is this? This is New Revised Standard Version. But yeah, he got me this Bible, this study Bible. It's a lot easier to read, and he's like, hey man, just give it a read every now and again. You know, I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. You know, until I actually started reading the Bible, actually praying, actually fasting. That I was like, okay, let's just do these things. Let's just do the things and see what happens. Over the last like year and a half, I have massively changed. I can't even put into words how transformative this whole process has been. This whole journey has been absolutely insane. And it's been probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Maybe. It's been close to one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it's one of those things where I can't just remain silent on it anymore. Trust me guys, I'm a background guy. I don't really like being in front of a camera to begin with. I don't like people looking at me. I don't really seek out people's like recognition or whatever. I don't really care like what people do and stuff, and I'm just a background guy. I like being not in the spotlight. Actually, like even just me recording this video is just so uncomfortable. Ugh. It's getting to a point now, man, where I can't really remain silent on this anymore. And it's such a profound effect that it would be inhumane of me to ignore such a massive effect. And Sikhism didn't even come close. March, April or something of like 2024, where I was at a high point of, I was reading my Bible, just on my days off. I would read it. I even got the, it's called the YouVersion app. I'd read on my breaks and, you know, downtime at work and stuff like that. And there was a time, because so what I was doing in my life at the time was, you know, I was working. I had a 2-bedroom, 1 bath just by myself, and I love living alone. By the way, I love living alone. I love that so much. And you know, this is at a point where I was reading my Bible, I was fasting. I think at the time I was probably fasting like once a month for like 2 days at a time or something like that. It wasn't a big thing, but it honestly, even going like 2 days was like that was like an accomplishment for me. Also, I forgot to mention this too when I first recorded, but so at the peak of me reading my Bible, fasting, the one thing that I wasn't really doing, and I didn't really know how to do it well, I guess, was praying. I didn't really know what to pray for, how to really go about it. I felt like prayer was my weakest aspect of doing some of these kinds of works, you know? But I'll tell you, man, this is important. When I was living in my 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, just living it up, I love living by myself. When I was at the peak of like relative peak of me reading the Bible and fasting and stuff, the one prayer that I had, man, the one prayer, and I prayed to God. And what I was looking for, what I was searching for was direction. And so because I was at a time in my life where I basically had everything I wanted. I'm not even joking. Like, I had enough money to do pretty much anything. I could travel, I could start new projects. I felt like I was at this very important crossroads in my life. How I spent my time and where I put my money would really matter. And it felt like it would have a lot of significance, like what I was gonna do at that point for the next 5-10 year trajectory was gonna have a big impact on my life, right? The one thing I wasn't really doing a lot was praying. And the one prayer that I prayed, the one prayer that I did, because it was really kind of eating away at me a little bit, was the fact that I prayed to God. So I got on my bed, you know, got at the edge of my bed, and I prayed to God. I'm like, hey, look, man, I need you to use me. That was the prayer. I was like, use me like you would a tool. Use me as your tool. Just use me. That's actually it. That's all I prayed for. I prayed to God. I was like, hey man, I need you to use me. And it was that prayer, that single request is what popped it all off. That single prayer, man, I'm not gonna lie, that is what really set off the whole fuse. That was what completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I had no idea what, right? It's like, you don't know how profound things like that really are. And ever since that, I've completely shifted direction in my life. And it's because God told me to. And it's one of those things where prayer used to be my kind of weakest aspect or whatever. And now I actually feel like it might be my strongest. And it's one of those things where I now never doubt the power of prayer. That single prayer changed everything, man. And I fully encourage people to not doubt the power of that, even though sometimes it might feel like God is not listening, or, oh, he's not really talking to me lately, I'm not hearing his voice lately. Your prayers are always being heard, man, and God is always working. And I'm living proof, man, like seriously. So I hope that encourages people to don't stop praying. Like, just pray, just don't cease to pray. It wasn't until I started reading a lot, and it wasn't until there was this week where, and I'll never forget this, I would basically start reading the Bible and I'd basically just start crying. I'd just start crying. I don't even know why. I don't even know. I would just start crying. And it was just, there were certain moments in the Bible, like I would read it, and it hit me so hard. I don't even know, man. It just hit. And I'm not one to cry easily. And so even the fact that it was such a like visceral response was like very telling. Was kind of like, oh wow, like I wasn't expecting that. And then over the next couple days, there was like a week where I was just crying a lot. Like I was crying. I was like messy crying. I was like messy, dirty. It's like I had snot, and it was just like I had like this mountain of Kleenex. I was like dirty, messy crying. But the thing is though, is that there was a time though, at the peak of my crying, at the peak of my crying, right? It really felt like, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, it really felt like Jesus was just in the room with me. It was so tangible. It felt so real that it felt like I could rest my head on his lap. I felt like I was just crying like on his lap or something. I'm not even joking. It felt so reassuring. And I can't, dude, it's so hard for me to explain in words, because it was so releasing. And it was just, what I didn't know is really the start. That was kind of like the start of this whole transformation in my journey into just my journey into just knowing Christ better and being a vessel for the Holy Spirit and the Holy Trinity in general, you know, and Father and Christ, Father and the Holy Spirit. I am bawling my eyes out, and I had no idea that a massive transformation was actually like happening in myself. And I'm over here, you know, I had a mound of Kleenex. I was messy crying. And I haven't cried like that in like, I can't even tell you, man. I haven't cried like that even when my grandmother passed away. I think I even cried more in this session over the course. On just, if you were to like collect the tears in volume of liquid of tears, it would even be close. But yeah, no, it was a whole thing. And Jesus actually started, I honestly believe that Jesus honestly started talking to me. And you think that this is like like Andy's just hearing voices in his head or whatever it is. No, like I would very clearly, clear as day, crystal clear, hear when Jesus tells me something. I was being told to do something. One of those things, I guess this will be a transition maybe into the next video, right? Well, it's basically like I was working on my job and Jesus was like, hey man, you should leave. Over the course of time, right? It wasn't like all of it was not all at once, but he would tell me, hey, you should work on this channel. Hey, you should work on this channel. Or hey, don't forget about the channel. Hey, don't this and that. And like I remember, man, and I feel so bad because I would ignore it. And I would continue doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh man, I really think it's him, but I'm just gonna continue doing what I'm doing. And soon that voice started going away. It just kind of stopped and it went away. And I was like, huh, yeah, you know, I haven't heard him in a while. Started reading my Bible more, because I went through this, it's been up and down, you know. I mean, recently it's been massively up. Because I actually have the time to dedicate to Jesus. But in the past, it's been very up and down, where sometimes I'm really in the world, you know. I would hear his voice, man, as clear as day. I'd hear his voice, and I'm like, oh wow, I think that's really him, man. And there have been times at work where he'd be like, hey man, you should leave. He's like, hey, you should leave. You should probably think about leaving. He's like, hey, and it would happen like every 2-3 weeks or something. I'd hear that voice crystal clear. And he's like, hey man, you should leave. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know, man. You know, you work so hard to get into these positions. You know, I went to school, studied chemistry, working in biotech, and it's like, man, he's like, man, he's telling me I gotta throw this all away, man. And it's like, it's really uncomfortable. I remember so many car rides in my car, I was just constantly thinking about, and it's like, oh, do I really have to quit? You know, am I really quitting? And I'm like, oh man, it took me a long time to arrive to the decision to actually quit. And I'll maybe make another video for that. But one thing that I know is how I know that this is real is the fact that I would say I am a very much a different person now than what I was maybe like 2 years ago. Even like 2023 Andy, we're not the same, man. We're not. And I'm so happy. I don't, and that's not like some cope or anything. Yeah, that was my full story. Thank you for listening to the whole thing. This has been kind of long. I've just been yapping this whole time. I'll probably put a video up on the screen somewhere on what you can watch next, but yeah, thank you, man.